Hey YouTube, I'm Sergeant Indy. Welcome back to my turn-based strategy tutorial for GameMaker Studio. This video, we're going to add a couple more complicated spells for our Cleric and Wizard. Same overall process as the last video, but with a couple twists and turns added in. First new spell we're going to be adding is called Bless. This will allow our Cleric to make the rest of the party more powerful by adding a bit more oomph to their attack rolls and their ability to resist certain spells and effects. Let's get to work. First thing we need to do is head into our scripts folder, action and spells, fill spell list, and we need to uncomment that line of code. That'll actually put Bless back into our spell list. Green check here. Now, this is a buff spell. For those who don't know what a buff is, I should probably explain that too. It's a pretty common online RPG lingo for a spell that makes you better at something. It makes you buffer. Rah. So, it's a buff spell. It's going to last a few rounds before wearing off. There are two ways you could do something like this. Well, two ways that come to mind immediately. You can either set something up to resolve, like at the beginning of everybody's turn, and have that count down every time their turn comes up. So, set a number like 5, and then on their turn it would do a thing, and then it would go to 4, and it would go on until it's done. Or you could link it to the round counter variable in our game controller that we set up earlier and have that wear off when the round counter reaches a certain number. We're going to do both this episode just to demonstrate. Ideally, you probably want to pick one method or the other for the sake of uniformity, but I'm just demonstrating both for the sake of demonstrating both. For Bless, we're going to give everyone a blessed variable. Then we'll set that variable to a number. When it's cast, it's going to be set to whatever the current round counter is plus 5. And then at the beginning of every character's turn, we'll compare the blessed variable with the round counter. And when the blessed variable is smaller than round counter, we'll just set it back to 0, and that will effectively turn the blessed effect off. We'll need something to denote this effect, so let's make a sprite now. It's a sprite, effects, and right-click, create sprite, there we go. And we'll call it S-Bless, edit sprite, 32 by 32 is fine. And this has never been a pixel art tutorial. I'm not very good at pixel art, so I'm just going to keep it pretty basic. We're just going to make some pluses that are kind of big and easy to see. Control S, you can grab them up. Actually, and then, yeah, Control C, Control V, there we go. Make another one. We'll just sort of set a couple of them up, and you know what, I will make a little smaller one just for some visual differences. Green check out of here, copy, paste, grab the next one, and we're just gonna sort of grab them and drift them up. I'm not a very good artist. This is just programmer art to make things kind of look interesting, just to get the point across. This has never been a pixel art tutorial. I'm not very good at it. You'd have to find somebody else for that. But I'm pretty decent at programmer art, getting the point across kind of stuff, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. If you are someone who is artistically talented when it comes to pixel art, feel free to not do this. Feel free to pause the video and take however much time it takes for you to do whatever effect you think would look good for a bless effect. I think that's good enough. We got little pluses. They sort of drift upward. Maybe one more. Maybe one more. We'll go ahead and take, and we'll just remove this guy like he's moved completely off the screen, and we'll move that guy up here, and we'll move this guy to there. We'll see how that looks. Yeah, that gets the point across. Green check. Taking too much time on this already. Origin of 0, 0, that's fine. We want it to line up over our actors, so that'll work great. Green check out of here. Now we need to create the actual bless object. So we're going to go into our objects, effects and UI, right click, create object. Bless. We'll give it the appropriate bless sprite. We want its depth set to -2 so that it's above our actors. Now, this is just an effect. It doesn't do anything mechanically within the game. It just shows up and looks pretty. So, really simple. It's going to need one variable that we're going to assign to it. We're also going to fiddle with its animation speed, cut that down to half so our effect lasts a bit longer. But all it's going to need is a variable for a target, and that is whoever it's displaying over. That way, if the actor moves while the animation is playing, which shouldn't happen, but it might happen, it will follow that actor. Other than that, it just destroys itself when the animation is done. Real simple. So create event, block of code, target equals no one, and image speed equals 0.5. I feel like I'm rambling a lot today. Green check out of here, add event. We want a step. We want an end step because our actors update their position in the step event. We want to make sure that this goes after they do. So end step. And so we're going to do if target, and I'll talk about that in just a second. X equals target.x, y equals target.y. Okay, so target. Target is currently set to no one. Now, target, or no one, is essentially the same thing as -1, and -1 is false. So if this was set to no one, for whatever reason, it would run this and be like, if false. Well, okay, so no. We're not going to do this block of code. If it's set to anything but that, if it's like if it were set to Sandy, like the ID's like 10006, it'd be like, oh, okay, and then it would do this block of code. So setting up stuff like this is the first time I think we've done it in this tutorial. It's just a neat way to make your code work for you rather than just if target doesn't equal no one, which is what I've been doing so far because it's a bit easier to grok when you're teaching this sort of stuff. But if no one is the default, then this is essentially the same thing as does not equal no one. It'll make your code easier to read and makes your variables work for you. I am rambling too much today. Green check out of here. Now we need an animation end event. So other animation end, drag in a code block, instance destroy. Green check. Now, we don't need a draw event. If we don't do a draw event, it'll just draw itself normal. That's what we want, so we're not going to do one. Green check out of here. Now we need to set our actors up to actually handle this new blessed status effect. So let's go into our actor, create event, and then make this a little bit bigger. Down here at the bottom, where we've got these variables related to effects, this is like, this would be a better way to do it. Variables related to FX, like special effects. We're going to do variables related to buffs and debuffs. A buff is something that makes you stronger. A debuff is something that makes you weaker. Again, those are just sort of slang terms from, I don't know, the online RPG community as a whole uses it. Even talk about Dungeons and Dragons. I want to say it evolved originally from like EverQuest MMO way back in the day. So we're going to go buffs and blessed equals 0. Green check out of here. We'll head into our step event, and we're going to change how we add a new state to our state machine here. Call it case initialize turn colon break, not breakle. All right, so every time one of our actors starts their turn, we're going to call this first before they head on into whatever else. And part of what we're going to do here is we're going to resolve like buffs and debuffs that are based on how many turns that it takes, like this lasts 4 turns or whatever. So if blessed is greater than ogame.round counter, which that means if the bless is still in effect, then we're gonna play that bless animation again. So with instance create x, y, because we lined it up to be on top of ourselves just fine. O bless. And it needs a bit of information for us. Target equals other. Now, normally we've been doing other other dot speed or other dot whatever. But other just references the ID of whoever we're calling. And normally we use that ID and we could do other dot ID, but that's redundant. We've already got the ID with just other. So you can do just that when you need to do it too. I'm not sure if we've done that yet in this video. I don't think that we have. Else, so if the bless is less than the round counter, it's no longer in effect. We're just going to set blessed equals 0. Something is amiss. Unexpected symbol in expression. Open paren, close paren. I don't understand what's wrong there. Oh, that's what's wrong. We're missing one. There. With instance create, bless, do that. And then this should be... My gosh, I've just messed this whole thing up, haven't I? That should be further back. That shouldn't even be there. Yeah, else. There we go. Okay, all lined up like that. Now, we're not quite done here. We're going to set this state to fire off when the game controller makes it an actor's turn. So we're also going to have it handle movement and attack range scripts, and creating the buttons is, of course, part of movement range. So let's do all of that now. If army equals blue army, which remember we set that up a few videos ago, that means the player's army. Movement range, and we pass 3 variables here. The node we're standing on, our move variable, and our actions variable. So map grid X, grid Y, move, actions. Switch attack type. We need to do our melee and attack range scripts. So case melee break. And if I were to do this over again, case ranged break. If I were to do this over again, I would offload all of this to another script, but we'll keep it. We might change that in the future, but for now, let's just knock this out. Melee, attack, range. And remember, we pass our ID to that. And ranged attack, range, ID. Redundant attack, redundant. Okay, now, so after we've done our movement range, we've done our melee attack range, our ranged attack range. So after this squiggly down here, we're going to pass our ID over to the cursor. Cursor dot selected actor equals ID. Let them know that it's controlling us now. And then this, if actor equals blue army. So down here we want it else. If it's not the blue army, if it's one of the bad guys, flash equals true, alarm 0. Gosh, alarm 0 equals 30. And then state equals ready to move on to not doing this stuff anymore. If you don't put this at the bottom, this is going to run over and over and over and over and over again. You don't want that. That's bad. Okay. With this all set up, we can now go to our game step event. And we've got a bunch of redundant code in there now. We want to get that out of there. So let's go to our game step event. And then all the way down here under ready. All of this stuff, roll the turn counter, roll the round counter, select an actor, give it its actions and its can act. We want all of this. All of this stuff, if you'll take a quick look at it, this is stuff we just did in the actors step event. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of that. And in its place, we're just going to do current actor.state equals initialize turn. All right, so now we've modified this so that, and really, this makes this easier to read. It offloads all that code into our actor where it probably should be taking place anyway. Just better organized and more set up. Now, let's actually code this bless spell. So, green check out of here and here. Go to our buttons and create buttons. And if you'll recall, we set all of these up with a certain order. Default actions, we've got our cleric spells, our wizard spells, and they're alphabetized within their little categories as well. So let's grab all of this, our healing word, Control-C, so all these buttons are more or less the same, Control-V to paste it in. We're going to change this one to Bless. The title is, of course, Bless in all capitals. Let's take this text, let's get rid of that, let's change that out with give all party members a small bonus to attack and save rolls. # for a line break. 1d4 bonus, and then 5 rounds. Let the player know how long it's going to last. Hotkey's fine. It is a spell. Spell slot's fine. Great. All done here. Let's green check out of there. Let's go to perform buttons, and we're going to do pretty much the same thing. Going to grab up healing word, copy that, paste. We have a few things to change here. Obviously, the case is going to be Bless, all capitals, because this is referencing the title of the button. Ready to action, change that to Bless. Targeting type, visible allies, that's what we want. Action range, 640, that's fine. But since this affects all allies rather than just one we right-click on, we don't want a confirm box. We want a confirm button. Confirm button. It'll work just like Magic Missile, essentially. Magic Missile targets all the bad guys you can see. This targets all the allies you can see. So pretty much like the opposite of Magic Missile, essentially. Green check out of here. We can go to perform action. And again, we've got healing word. Bless alphabetically goes first. So case, bless, break. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this works pretty similar to how Magic Missile works. So let's go down and take a look at that. We create a list called targets. We go through all the nodes, and if they're an action node, we put them in targets list. Then we step through that target list, and we do something to it. And then, of course, we do the typical clean up your list when you're done, and then the typical we've cast a spell, bunch of variable changes at the end. So, let's do all of that now. So, targets equals ds list create. And then with o node, if action node, add themselves to the list, ds list add other dot targets id. And then down here we want for ii equals 0, ii less than ds list size, targets ii plus equals 1, target equals ds list find value, targets ii dot occupant, and remember that this will return whatever is in the list. What we've got on that list is an ID, so we can reference this as if it were that ID. So this dot occupant is exactly what we want because we want to target the occupant, not the node itself. So target dot blessed equals o game dot round counter plus 5 with instance create target.x, target.y, o bless, so create the initial bless effect when the spell is cast on everybody who is blessed. Target equals other.target. Okay, and remember, this blessed counter, the target will remain blessed, they'll remain under the effect of blessed, until the round counter reaches the blessed counter, and then it goes back to 0, and they're no longer under the effect of the bless. So, getting ready for cleanup. Targets need to destroy that list. We're done with it. So, ds list destroy. Targets. If you don't do this, you'll get a memory leak. And then our typical cleanup. So, actor.canAct equals false. Actor.actions minus equals 1. Actor. Oops. That's too many spaces. Actor.first level slot minus equals 1 because they've cast a first level spell. Actor.state equals end action. Actor.action timer. 15 ought to be enough for this animation to play before moving on to the next character or redoing their movement range. All that's good, but while we're here, I spaced out and I made a mistake last video, so let's fix that now. Here we've got Healing Word, and after you cast it, we set the state to end turn, not end action. Completely my fault. Happens a lot when you're programming, even if you've been doing it for years. You make silly mistakes from time to time like this one. And it's easy to catch some silly mistakes because the game won't run. It's hard to catch others like this one, this bug. So now every time Rizzo, even if it's the start of her turn, she hasn't done anything else, she casts Healing Word, her turn's just over. She can't move afterwards. So we don't want that. End action rather than end turn. Now, you might program some spell or ability that's super powerful, and that does end your turn. For instance, the XCOM sniper rifles for XCOM 2, they end your whole turn if you fire it. And you can't fire it without spending your whole turn to do it. So something really powerful like that, you might want to do end turn rather than end action, but not for Healing Word. So we fixed that. I'm going to scroll back up here so that's Bless. Go ahead and pause it if you're falling behind. Green check. So now we've got this effect in place. We've got this button. We press the button, and then everybody on our side is blessed. But it doesn't actually do anything yet. Now, if you make a big game, you can end up with a lot of things that affect attack rolls. This Bless, for instance, is a type of buff that adds to attack rolls. In a full-featured game, you might have a lot of buffs, and then you might have other situational modifiers like cover bonuses, and then you might have debuffs, like things the bad guys do to you to make it harder for you to hit. So, your attack roll portion could end up being this big, cluttered mess. It's best to push that all off to a script in order to keep it self-contained. It'll make both the attack roll script and the actor's attack state easier to read individually. So let's set all that up now. We're going to go to our actions and spells, right-click, create script, attack _ roll. Now we're going to have two arguments here. Argument 0 is going to be the ID of actor making the attack. Argument 1 is going to be the ID of the target. That's it. So actor equals argument 0, argument meant 0, and target equals argument 1. Roll, this is going to be performed after the actor has made its attack rolls. We'll have access to that. Roll equals actor.attack roll. And status equals miss. So if actor.attack roll equals 20, remember if they get a natural 20 on the roll, it's a critical hit. So status equals crit. Else, and we're going to set up, in fact, let's set up how the roll normally works now. So if roll plus actor.hit bonus is greater than or equal to target.armor class, that's a hit. Status equals hit. If it's not greater than their armor class, then we have a miss. So status equals miss. Now, how bless is going to work is we're just going to throw that in here as a modifier to the attack roll. So if actor.blessed is greater than 0, so it has a value. Remember, if the round counter rolls over it and gets higher than it, it's automatically set to 0. So if it's not 0, the actor's still blessed. Roll plus equals irandom range 1 to 4. So if we're blessed, we'll add a little bit of extra oomph to our hit roll, and then we'll determine whether we get a hit or a miss off of that. It doesn't affect the crit, because for the crit, we're only counting a natural 20 on the initial roll itself. Now, one more thing to do here. Return status. I think this is the first return we've ever done in this playthrough, because I've been tutorial. Because I've been trying to keep things pretty simple. What a return does is it will return this value, and this value, of course, will either be crit, hit, or miss. And so we can use this function as something to set up something like attack status equals attack roll, and then variable 1, variable 2. So this will automatically set our attack status to whatever the results of this function are, since it has a return. In fact, almost this exact line right here, we're about to go put that into our actor's step right now. So leave this here for just a second. If you're falling behind, green check out of here. Now we're going to go into our actor's step event and actually set that up. We're going to scroll down until we find the attack case statement. Here we go, right here. So attack roll, we've got the sneak attack check. That's fine. This stuff is where we used to determine the outcome of a roll. Let's copy all of that up, get rid of it, and we're just going to do attack status equals attack roll ID attack target. And that'll determine hit, miss, or crit. And we've also got our bless check in there. If you had any debuffs, like maybe a bad guy can blind you and it cuts your attack rate in half or whatever, you can handle all that in the attack roll too. And it keeps this, like, this attack state, it's already pretty cluttered. So anything you can offload out of this into a script is probably a good idea. And especially something like your attack roll, that's going to get really cluttered the more status effects and bonuses and penalties you add to the game. Alright, now it's every time one of our characters makes an attack, it'll call that attack roll function, and if they're blessed, they'll get a little bit extra to their attack roll. Let's green check out of here, and let's run it and watch it in action. Danny and his turn. Sandy and her turn. Sonny just end his turn. Now we'll do Rizzo. Bless. Confirm. So everybody's blessed. The effect played. Alright, so Danny's still blessed. He has a better chance to hit. He's not guaranteed to hit. Same with Sandy. And we could keep going until the bless effect no longer shows up so that we know that it ends. So let's do that. It'll take a bit of time. Sandy's still blessed. Sonny's still blessed. Rizzo's still blessed. A few more turns. Rounds. Rizzo. Danny. Sandy. Sonny. Rizzo. Okay. I think this one will be the one where it breaks right after this round. Maybe it already did. Yep. So when they start their turns, they're no longer playing the graphic. That means the bless has worn off. So it gave them an attack bonus for a few rounds, and now it's gone. It's working just like we want it to. Great. Let's move on to the next spell. So now we're going to try another spell with a time component like the last one. This one we're going to set up a little bit differently. We're going to give it a number. And at the start of every character's turn, we'll resolve the effect and decrement that number. A little bit easier to set up because there's less moving parts. You don't have to worry about the round counter within the game event. You just worry about, we're going to set up an acid burn. So Sonny can cast an acid orb. It'll hit him for a bunch of damage initially, and then for 2 rounds after that, they'll get a little bit of extra damage at the start of their turn. So we're just going to set this acid burn variable to 2, and then when they do their turn, they'll take a little bit of damage. It'll become 1. Next turn, take a little bit more damage. It goes to 0. They're no longer affected by the acid. Easy. So let's head into our actor. We'll set up our first debuff. So scroll down here. We've got our buffs section. Let's go down. Debuffs. Acid burn equals 0. Now let's head into our actor step, and we'll resolve this there. So here we got our initialized turn. We've got our bless check. Right below it, we're going to do if at acid burn is greater than 0. Damage equals irandom range 1 to 4. So just a little bit of extra burning damage. With instance create. Whoa, lowercase create. I've been doing that all video, haven't I? X plus 28. We're making some damage text because we got damage, obviously. Y plus 2. O damage text. 2 parens and a squiggly. Text equals minus plus string other dot damage. And ground equals Y. So remember the ground variable, it pops up and lands back where it started. We're going to do hit points minus equals damage. Acid burn minus equals 1. Great. Now let's apply this through our new wizard spell, Acid Orb. So green check out of here and here. And first we're going to create the projectile itself. So let's start with a sprite. In effects, right click, create sprite, call it S Acid Orb. Edit sprite. We don't want it to be 32 by 32. Let's go with 16 by 16. And again, I'm not an artist, so this is going to be fairly simplistic. We're going to make a circle that's white. Let's get it in there so we can see what we're doing a bit better. And we're just going to start top pixel to bottom pixel and fill the whole thing out like that. Green check. Copy, paste. We want to select this all, delete it, make a new one. We want the second sprite in, or second pixel in to second pixel in, make it a little bit smaller. Green check. Is there a way to just add a, oh, there, we can't just add an empty page at the end. What am I doing then? I'm wasting so much time with that selection. Get rid of it. 2 pixels in. Make it fairly evenly sized like that. Green check. Now we're going to take the center one. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste it. And we're going to move it to the end. So it kind of wob, gets smaller, then bigger, just like that. Nothing fancy. We do want the origin to be centered. And green check out of here. Create the Acid Orb object in the effects and UI. Right click, create object. O, Acid Orb. We're going to give it the Acid Orb sprite. Effects. Set its depth to -2. And we're going to give it a parent of ranged attack. Because it is a ranged attack. Now, it needs the same things that arrow needed. So, create event, drag in a block of code. It needs a speed, and it needs to perform the inherited event. So, event, don't make me type it all out. Made it. Say, I'm always skeptical about something about the word inherited. Fries my brain. Speed equals 24. What's wrong? Why doesn't it like this? Unexpected symbol in position. Event inherited. I don't understand what's wrong there. Oh, it's got a colon at the end. Gosh. Really sorry about that. Event inherited, speed 24. That's all it needs. And the event inherited will handle like the target, and setting up the path that it has to follow. Now we're going to have a step event. And in this step event, we're going to randomly change the color of this orb. Color equals, choose C underscore lime, C underscore green, C underscore olive. That's the full spectrum of GameMaker greens, but I just realized, complete idiot. Green check out of here, go back into our create event. I forgot we need to set color equals C underscore lime. That's a good starting color. So every step it'll just, bounce back and forth between a few different colors, and look interesting, hypothetically. We're going to add a draw event for it to handle being different colors. So draw sprite extended, sprite index, subimage of -1, so it'll animate. X and Y, the X scale and Y scale are both going to be 1, rotation of 0, a color of our color variable, and our alpha of 1. Done this about a dozen times. You guys know all this. Green check. Now we need an end of path event, because remember, our ranged attack, it's given a target, it creates a path between where it starts and where it ends. And when it reaches the end, it does stuff. Well, we need to modify what it does at the end of the path. So, end path. We do want to perform the inherited event. So, event inherited. There we go. But before we do that, because the inherited event destroys the object. So, before we do that, we want to do if status doesn't equal miss. So if it is a hit or a crit, since this spell has an attack roll, it can crit. Target.acid burn equals 2. So when it reaches the end of the target, if it's a hit, it sets the burn to 2 rounds, and then it'll do the inherited event, which creates the damage text, applies the damage of the spell itself, and then destroys the object. Green checks, green checks. So now we can head into fill spell list and start programming what the spell actually does itself. So fill spell list, uncomment acid orb, green check. Go into create buttons, and acid orb starts with an A, of course, so it's going to be right up at the top of our wizard spells. Control C, Control V. Copy that out. Acid orb title. Acid orb. And we're going to get rid of this. Oh, I'm just going to retype it all. Right click an enemy to fire an orb of deadly acid! Exclamation point. Line break with a pound sign, and then it's going to do 3d10 acid damage. And then another break, we're going to have ongoing burn. So this will let the player know I have to right click an enemy, and that it does a bunch of damage, and then has an ongoing additional effect. All of the rest of this information is great. Hotkey, spell slot, awesome. Green check out of here. We're going to go into perform buttons. Pretty much the same thing as before. We're going to copy burning hands. Control C, Control V. Change the title to acid orb. Readied action is acid orb. The title's in all caps. The readied action is not. The targeting type is not going to be cone. It's going to be visible enemies. The action range is going to be 640, so pretty far range. And we do want to confirm box, not a confirm button, because we need the player to actually right-click on one of the enemies for this to be cast. Green check out of here. Perform action to do the actual spell itself. This one's going to be a little complicated because it involves making a ranged attack and a ranged attack roll. Remember, we do a little bit of scatter if that's a miss. So some of these lines of code get a little long and ugly. So case acid orb break target equals o cursor dot hover node dot occupant. Remember, when this is cast, it'll essentially be the player right clicking on a square, so that's how we'll get that. Attack roll equals irandom range 1 to 20. Attack status equals attack roll, that script we just wrote, and actor target. We've still got the ID of the actor doing the skill up here in an actor variable. So actor target, that'll resolve that for us. Damage type equals acid. Been doing a lot of colons at the end. It's probably got something messed up in here. Temp damage equals 0. And then since we're going to do 3d10, we're going to go 4. II equals 0. II less than 3. II plus equals 1. Pretty sure II plus plus works in Game Maker. I'm just in the habit of doing plus equals 1 in Game Maker. I don't remember why I started that habit. I don't think plus plus used to work. Getting off target. So temp damage plus equals I random range 110. So it essentially rolls 3d10 and adds it to the damage. Neat. Attack dir, because again, it's a ranged attack. We got to set it up to do ranged attack stuff. Equals attack direction equals point direction from the center of our caster. X plus 16. Wait a minute, what am I doing? It should be actor.x plus 16, actor.y plus 16, and then target.x plus 16, target.y plus 16. That'll give us a straight line direction between those 2 points. Now we're going to create our ranged attack object, our acid orb, with instance create x plus 16. What am I doing? Actor.x plus 16, actor.y plus 16, O acid orb, target equals other.target, status equals other.attack status, damage equals other.temp damage, path add point. Remember, it has a path, but it's called movement path. We need to add where it starts from, so other.actor.x plus 16, other.actor.y plus 16, 100. My notes have all of this wrong. Instead of this other, like this actor, we're just doing the X and Y. And I wonder if that's actually possible. We're going to go with my gut, because I know this will work. But you might not need to reference actor here. Since the actor should be calling this script, you should still just be able to reference the X and Y that are his. Well, I'm going to follow my gut and leave it at this. That's fine. Either way is fine. If status doesn't equal miss, so if it's a hit or a crit, we're going to do path add point movement path. That's target.x plus 16, target.y plus 16, 100. Remember, the last 100 is just a speed factor. That's how quickly it moves to that point based on the speed that we give it. Else, so if it is a miss, we're going to do the same thing, and we're just going to offset it a bit. So path add point movement path target.x plus 16 plus I random range. We're going to go yeah, okay, so I forgot how we do this. I random range 30 50 times choose -1 1, so that'll offset it left or right by 30 to 50, comma target y plus 16 plus I random range 30 50 times choose -1 1, so that'll throw it way off course 100. Okay, now we need to tell it to start the path. We've got something wrong here. Probably I have screwed up a symbol somewhere. I random range. That one doesn't have a mate. These need second parens at the end of the chooses. Make sure you get those. Yeah, okay, just like that. After that, we need to tell it to start its path. So path start movement path speed true. And remember, this is all, that's the name of the path, the speed that we've given it, which we give it in the create event of the object, And then we do want it to perform the end action when it gets to the end of the thing, and absolute true, that means it's going to follow the path absolutely and not some other path. So now we can do actor dot first level spell slot minus equals 1. Actor dot can act equals false. Actor dot actions minus equals 1. Actor dot state equals end action, and actor dot action timer. In this case, we've got a projectile that needs to travel from point A to point B before we've really resolved our action. So let's give it 30 whole steps before it resolves. Break at the end. Okay. Can we get all this? All of that. That's what we got. Go ahead and pause it if you're falling behind. I'm going to green check out of here. And let's run it and see it in action. Who do we got first? Sunny. That's really handy. But click that. Right click our orb and womp womp. First level spell slot. Actor dot first level spell slot. Huh, something wrong with how that's typed out. Let's go check that out. Line 112 in perform action. Probably a simple typo. Actor dot first level spell slot. Isn't that right? That looks right to me. Oh, it's just first level slot, not first level spell slot. Oh. Yeah, that happens. Doesn't matter how you name your variables. Eventually, you will become confused by your own system. It's practically inevitable. I was hoping we'd get Rizzo to go first, because a bless would help this hit. Okay, we did hit. Cool. So now let's keep an eye on this guy. Because on his turn, he took a little bit of damage. So it's working. Let's let this run through one more time. 2 more times. Because I want to see this blip him for some more damage. And then I want to see it stop. Okay, so he's taken a total of 4 extra damage from that acid orb. We'll go through one more time. We'll make sure that the next time he has a turn, he doesn't take any damage because the effect is over. Awesome. So our acid orb is working great. We're going to make one last spell. And this one's going to be called Guided Bolt. This is a spell that the cleric can cast as a ranged attack. And if it hits, the next attack against that target will have a better chance of hitting. So first we're going to make a sprite. I'm just going to duplicate the arrow because I want something approximately the same size. So duplicate. I'm going to call this S Guiding Bolt. We're going to edit the sprite. We're going to just get in here and we're going to change this guy. So erase all of that. And I'm going to go ahead and just round out the front a bit more. And we're just going to do something like that, except we want this whole thing to be white. We're going to copy and paste another one. And this one we're going to erase these thingies. Let's copy and paste one more. And this one we're going to Control-C and just drag the bolt out a bit that way. We'll just sort of bounce back and forth a bit to just get an idea of how things are going. We want to copy this one, paste it, move it to the end, just something like that. So it looks like it kind of pulses or whatever. The origin, since we duplicated the arrow, that's perfect, just like we want it. Green check. Let's make the object. X and UI, create object. O, guiding bolt. We're going to give the sprite a depth of -2 and a parent of ranged attack. Same thing, we're going to give it a create event. Where is it? Gosh, my brain is getting frazzled today. Event Come on. Where's the autocomplete today? Normally it drives me crazy. Today it's just not going off at all. Speed equals 24. It needs a speed, and also it's going to need a color. So color equals C underscore yellow. So do the same trick we did last time where we just sort of flash it. Guiding bolt step event, where it goes through its colors. Color equals choose, and I like C underscore yellow, C underscore orange, and C underscore white. That's a good brightly colored projectile. It's really like radiant damage, like something brightly colored makes me think of radiant damage. Let's go to the guiding bolt draw event, and it needs to be drawn at an angle, much like the arrow does. So this is the exact same thing we've got in the arrows event. So draw sprite extended, sprite index, -1, we want it to animate, X, Y, that's fine. The scale at 1 for the X and Y scale. We want it to be rotated based on the direction, and we want its color to be the color variable, and its alpha to be 1. Great. Green check. It needs a special end path event as well. So other end of path. There it is. Dragging a block of code. So if status doesn't equal miss, pretty much just like what we did on the last one, target dot guiding bolt equals true. We'll set that up in a minute. Event equal, or event inherit. It did. Wow, my autocomplete's just completely given up on me today. That's fine. That's fine. It can take a break. Green check out of here. Now let's set up that guiding bolt debuff in our actors so that they can be ready to accept this. So debuffs, we want keep these alphabetized as well. Guiding bolt equals false. Now this debuff is going to be handled in our attack roll script that we made earlier. And how we're going to do that is if something has the guiding bolt set to true, we're essentially going to roll 2 d20s and or take whichever's the highest. So pretty cool effect. But when it's after that attack is done, whether it hits or misses at all, doesn't matter. We're going to set guiding bolt back to false. So this is only a one and done effect. Green check out of here and there. We're going to go into our attack roll. Here it is. And right here where we've got our status equals miss, before we do our attack roll, before we check if it's a crit, we want to make that second roll. So if target dot guiding bolt roll equals max roll random range 120, then target dot guiding bolt equals false. Okay, so what max does is you feed it 2 numbers and it determines whichever 2 numbers. I actually think you can feed it as many numbers as you want or as many variables as you want, and it picks whichever one is the highest numerical value. So we've already got one 1 to 20 roll. Now we're rolling another one, and whichever one's higher, we'll take it. And then the guiding bolt property goes away when we're done with that. So that's it. That's all we need to do here. The last thing we need to do is actually make everything work. We need to make the button, everything else. You know the drill. Fill spell list. Uncomment guiding bolt. So it's now B, H, E, F, G. Now let's keep these alphabetical too. Let's Control X that. And let's go ahead, Control V, G, H. Oh my, this one's all messed up. Let's do these two while we're here. Whoops. There we go. We'll clean that up. There we go. A, B, M, B, G, H. Great. Green check. Create buttons. Bless. Healing word. Let's go ahead and copy healing word again. Control C. Control V. Guiding bolt. title is obviously going to be Guiding Bolt. And we want this to read, right click an enemy to fire an illuminating bolt, exclamation point, pound sign, 4d6 radiant damage, pound sign, bonus on next attack against target, exclamation point. Everything else is fine. Hotkey, spell slot, great. Green check, perform buttons. Same thing. Let's grab up healing word. Let's copy it. Control C. Control V. Guiding bolt. Let's change our ready action to guiding bolt. Visible allies. We want visible enemies as our targeting type. Range is fine, and we do want to confirm box, not a confirm button, because we do need to right-click a specific enemy. Green check out of here. We're going to go into perform buttons. Wait, I already did perform buttons. Perform action. That's what we're going to do. Perform action, bless, healing word. Let's grab all this up. Wait, no, we don't want to grab that up. We got our own thing, essentially. So we're going to do case guiding bolt. Actually, this is crazy because this is going to be exactly the same thing as the acid orb we just set up earlier. So how about we just copy the acid orb? All of that, right? Let's copy all of it. Let's save ourselves a bunch of time. We're going pretty late anyway. Let's paste it all here. We'll just go through and change it. The case up at the top is guiding bolt. We still want the enemy here. We still need an attack roll. And our attack status resolved through the attack roll script. Our damage is radiant. Our temp damage is 46, so II less than 4. And our I random range is only 1 to 6. And then we still want our crazy attack direction stuff. All of that's fine, except right here we want our yeah, wow, I must have turned it off and it hit a hotkey or something, turned it off on accident. Oh well. First level slot, can act, actions, state, action timer. All of this is now good. Let's green check out of here. Now we can test this one out as well, though there's not much to see. We can still fire it off, and really all we're looking for when running the game is errors. We're going to fire it off at something somebody else is going to make an attack at it. At the same target. There's nothing really visible to see, though, unfortunately. Guiding bolt. Ah, we have an error. What doesn't it like? It's trying to draw an... Oh, abort. My bad. Guiding bolt. It obviously needs the guiding bolt sprite. I do that from time to time. I forget to just get in a rush making objects. This thing needs to do this, this, and this. I get excited about it, and next thing you know, I'm trying to draw objects, and the objects are like, hey bro, you never gave me a sprite. Get your stuff together. Guiding bolt. Pew! Okay, so the next attack against this target, we probably should have made an effect for it. Not really that big a deal. Let's shoot an acid orb at it. And he missed anyway. What an unlucky gnome. I'm going to double check our attack roll. If guiding bolt, well, it's obviously testing it, and it's not coming up with an error. So he just missed because, yeah, he just missed because he's really unlucky, because this attack roll, if this were done wrong, it would be checking for a non-existent variable. Let's double check the guiding bolt end of path. Guiding bolt. Yeah, wow, he just got super unlucky. He rolled 2d20s and missed on both of them. That happens sometimes. I mean, it can't be 100%, can it? At any rate, it runs, it's not throwing any errors, so it works. If you want to try to add some sort of special effect to guiding bolt when it pops up, that's fine. You could probably set it to run, you know, every time everybody's turn pops up, you could tell them to, like, if they have guiding bolt on them, to blink up. I want to cast it one more time just to be completely safe. Not bless. I want Guiding Bolt. Zap. Okay. Let's get somebody over there to try to whack him. Not Danny. He can't reach. There we go. Okay. All right. So, next video, we're going to handle killing things, like resolving hit point losses and destroying bad guys. So, killing them, well, doing damage to them that actually matters. Like, this guy's probably at, like, negative 10 hit points right now. Removing them from the turn order, removing them from the game, moving on to the next room, and a basic infrastructure to level our characters up. If you're enjoying the tutorial series so far, be sure to like, subscribe, or follow me on Twitter at Sergeant Indy. Leave a comment below if you get stuck, find an error, or just want to say hello. Thanks for watching, everybody.